We got zigzagged, Joel Pearl. They zigzagged us. Zigzagged all over the place. Welcome to Tim and Joel Call in the Ring.
Couldn't believe it.
It's baffling.
Absolutely insane. Did not expect it. And now I get to look
Zigzag
forward
you.
to Dallas. Yes, zigzag.
Now we're going to
chase
zigzag you.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. You know how excited, Tim? You know how excited I am about this? I'm so excited that I'm taking us off the air. We're done. We're done here. We're done. Tim and Joel Pod is no more. But actually, Tim and Joel Pod is no more on Wednesdays.
Half more.
We're half more. We're going to keep our Sunday at noon time slot here on Fightful Overbooked. And there's a reason for that. We like having diverse ideas, diverse voices here on Fightful Overbooked. And when another guy with a beard pitched doing a show with another bass player, I couldn't say no.
As long as the diversity is centered around bass playing.
That's yes. Right. Our friend Dennis Farrell and Johnny Christ, who you might know from a little band called Avenged Sevenfold, have decided to team up and start their new podcast called The Three. And it will be on Fightful Overbooked every Wednesday moving forward, Wednesdays at noon Eastern. So keep the channel locked, keep watching the channel. We're still going to do Tim and Joel Pod. It's going to be every Sunday at noon Eastern. It's going to change a little bit because we're not going to talk about all the stuff. We're just going to maybe go a little bit more laser focused so that Tim can retain his sanity.
Yay. I'm going to be so much happier. We can talk about the stuff that I'm jazzed about instead of the stuff that I'm forced to watch by this monster, Joel Pearl.
I am a monster. But for now, enjoy The Three. This is their debut episode. Be nice to them. They're wonderful, wonderful human beings. They put on a good show, and I hope you enjoy it. Till then, ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, enjoy The Three. Cheers. Oh, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Off the heels of what might have been the best AEW pay-per-view of the year, Revolution, we decided to start the brand new podcast this week. It's The Three. He's Johnny Christ, no relation.
Oh, and he's Dennis. What's your last name?
It's Farrell. That's actually pretty fitting because nobody knows who I am. Listen, the first episode, we'll talk about our top 3 moments. We'll set the show up. But first and foremost, let's introduce ourselves so you guys know who we are. We can be best friends with you. And as we grow and start doing more social media crap, we'll invite you and you guys can tell us your top 3 moments of the week. And sometimes we'll read it. Sometimes we won't. It just depends on how it is. Johnny, first and foremost, Drinks with Johnny, one of my favorite podcasts. I've told you that even before we were friendly. So first, let's explain to everybody who you are because you're the big star here. You're the
man. I don't know, but I don't know who I am anymore. No, I'm Johnny Christ. I am the bass player of the band Avenged Sevenfold. And a few years ago, I started my podcast, Drinks with Johnny, where I have talked to a bunch of my contemporaries in the music industry, actors, comedians, professional athletes, and a lot of what have been some of my favorite episodes with professional wrestlers, from Hall of Famers of yesteryear to dudes that we're going to talk about from today that were just in the pay-per-view that I've befriended and had on the show. And I'm just a big wrestling fan. Real fun story. I just realized yesterday, Dennis, while we were watching this pay-per-view last night, I have this Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy picture signed by Hulk Hogan up in my bar. And I was like, we were talking and I got to the point where I was like, I was like 3-4 months old and I was at WrestleMania 2. My parents brought me there and I was like, man, but I can't remember who the main event was for that one. And it was if anyone remembers who's watching this, that was the WrestleMania where they did the simulcast. Like before simulcasting was even a thing, they had a arena in LA, an arena in Chicago, and then Madison Square Garden in New York. And they had matches in all 3 different spots. And when the match wasn't on, they had the big screen. The main event was in LA, I believe. And it was the cage match between King Kong Bundy and Hulk Hogan that I have a picture of signed, not even realizing I got it as memorabilia, just thinking it was a cool photo that was signed by Hulk Hogan. And I was like, come full circle. That's that's what started me in wrestling. You know, obviously I don't remember. I'm not going to say that I was 4 months old and I remember or anything, but it's just a full circle. And for a while there, like I think a lot of guys my age kind of fell out of wrestling for a bit, probably about a solid decade. I wasn't really, you know, I was checking in, but let's be honest, I wasn't really paying it. My finger was pretty far from the pulse on wrestling. But through doing the podcast, talking to guys like yourself, Dennis, I've really gotten right back into it, and I'm excited to do this once a week with you and talk wrestling, man. This is something that I've loved, as I said, since a very young age, and it's gonna be fun.
Now, I will say this for everybody out there listening. You're like, all right, Drinks with Johnny, I want to go check out the podcast. Where do I start? Look for anything with Ron Funches, because those are my favorites. That's what made me become a fan of yours. And I've always loved Ron. I mean, Ron's
a great dude.
He's one of those guys that I want to meet one day and just hug him and say thank you, because he just seems like he'd be like the best hug ever.
He's a big softy, man. He's a great dude. He's a huge wrestling fan. We actually busted out a game from my childhood, a board game that was from the WWF, where maybe we'll bring it out one of these weeks here, Dennis, and we could try and play it virtually. But you know, I was gonna have Ron on the show. I knew he was a big wrestling fan, so I went on Amazon and found the same game that I had when I was a kid. So I had to rebuy it, obviously. But yeah, Ron Funches, amazing comedian. Go check out that episode and so many more. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Season 4 just dropped, by the way, so go watch it. Your wife on episode 1, season 4.
Yeah, that was a funny one. I got to be honest, that was a fan thing. You know, we asked the fans who they want, and someone made a I don't know if it was a joke or real thing. They wanted to have my wife Lacey on the show, and I said, okay, well, when we get to 20,000 subscribers, I'll go ahead and do that. And sure enough, we got to 20,000 subscribers, and I had to fucking keep my word.
How was the sell job on that one? Like, babe, you gotta go do something for me.
It was easier than asking for sex. Let's put it that way.
That's perfect. Wow, that's why I'm divorced. So she didn't do the podcast or sex.
No.
Anyways, about me, real quick,
Yep.
I do the wrestling perspective with Lars Fredrickson. That's kind of what actually brought you and I together.
Yep.
Many moons ago, I'm sitting at home, my phone starts blowing up, and everybody's like, Malachi Black and Johnny Christ are talking about your show. I'm like, what the hell would they talk about me? So I go over, then I guess in order for me to comment, I had to like actually premium subscribe to his podcast, which, by the way, that might be the greatest pyramid scheme right there. Just start mentioning all these podcasts on the stream. That way they have to like come in and pay to comment on it. Genius. Genius. I did it. And through there, I got to be friendly with you and Malachi, which it's a win for me. So yeah, go check out Drinks with Johnny, Wrestling Perspective. That's what we do on the side. But here we are.
I don't think you talked a little bit enough about the wrestling perspective, though, Dennis. I was a guest on the show.
You were,
and you know, Lars is pretty much the regular, one of the regular co-hosts. You have a couple of other wrestlers and for a Hall of Famer in the baseball community. Like, I mean, you're selling yourself short a little bit. Oh, it's just this little podcast, you know. But you got some heavy hitters on there, man. You had Tony Khan on there.
Thank you, by the way, for that one.
Tony's a good dude.
He great. Oh my gosh. Like afterwards, he's like, oh yeah, text me anytime. Like occasionally like, oh my God, what a great pay-per-view. And I put my phone down, never expecting to hear back. He's like, hey, thanks, Dennis. I'm like, he knows my name.
He's a good dude. It was a shock to me the first time I got a phone call from it, or a phone call back from him. I was like, this is the owner of the company that I'm a huge fan of, and he's got enough time to pick up the phone and give me a call. And I always been appreciative of that. He's got a good heart, and he is the perfect guy to be running a wrestling whatever
company. Yeah.
Company. Thank you. He's the perfect one because he's a fan through and throughout. His whole life he's been a huge wrestling fan, and you could see it. That's where his passion is. And it's fantastic. But yeah, podcast, Wrestling Perspective. Where does everyone find that, Dennis?
Just wherever you buy your podcasts. You know, they're on sale now for free, actually. So go buy them for free right now before the price goes up to free. Just subscribe wherever you get them. It's a podcasting. Same thing with Drinks with Johnny, right? And
Right,
place you
everywhere.
get your podcast, YouTube, go subscribe there.
Yeah.
Fight TV is where you can find us. But listen, let's talk about the three. This is the very first episode. The whole concept of the show is
I'm excited.
each week you and I will get together and talk about the top three things we've watched this week. Matches, promos from now, then, forever, whenever it is. We can sit down and say, hey, I watched this thing from 1985. This cracks my top three this week. And I watched AEW and I accidentally watched WWE. And those are my three things I watched. That's pretty much the simple concept of it.
Yeah. I'm excited when you gave me the call and was like, I would like to do something. We'll just talk wrestling and pick your favorite things of the week. I was like, well, man, I'm a little busy. I haven't been watching a lot of wrestling this week. I did see a couple of rad promos, and then it just worked out perfect timing wise for us to do this the night after Revolution, because that was an insane pay-per-view. Like I said before we hit record, it's gonna be difficult for me to find only three things that I absolutely loved about this. So let's get into it.
Yeah, and by the way, huge thank you for Fightful for giving this thing a home.
Yes, Fightful.
It's the only place you'll be able to find it, unless we decide we're big time and go on our own. Hey, pay us, baby. That's what I'm saying. Right? I'm starting episode 1. I'm already starting to pay.
I know
us.
you're a salesman, man. You're a salesman on this already.
That's right. Hey, we're drawing the big number 1 person watch this. Anyways, thank you to Fightful for letting us be our home. We're excited to be here, but you're right. Let's get into it. What is your number 3? Let's go from 3 to 1.
3 to 1. Okay.
3
Well,
to
I
1.
had my notes because I had a couple buddies over last night. We were watching Revolution, and we bet. We took winner. We each time we were betting who's going to win. I was correct 7 out of the 9 matches. So I took the big bucks home.
What were the 2 you missed? What were the 2 you missed?
The 2 I missed. So it was kind of these ones. If I really cared a little bit more about winning that money, I probably would have picked the opponents, but I did go with MJF, knowing full well at a pay-per-view, let's be honest, he'd already gotten the better of Punk a couple of times. What's going to happen in the pay-per-view more often than not. So I went with my heart on that one because I'm a huge MJF fan. I absolutely love that guy. And then I picked the Bucks in the 3-way tag. That might have been let's start off with that one right there. The 3-way tag match itself was amazing. I saw some of that Jungle Boy 360 from the top rope.
Oh my God.
That was sick. That might have been like one of the coolest moments I'd seen in a long time in a pay-per-view.
So that's your number 3.
I'm going to start with that as my number 3. It felt like a good one to go with right now. I didn't prep for this at all, Dennis. So we're going with that.
No, that's a good one. And you know what? I'll say this about that match. It was perfect placement in there because to me, a great pay-per-view. It felt like they were setting that pay-per-view up to be one of their top pay-per-views going forward, like their SummerSlam or their top 4. If we were putting in WWE terms, their Survivor Series, their WrestleMania, their Royal Rumble.
It's a flagship.
Yeah.
It's one of the flagship pay-per-views.
It felt like it, but it also felt like it might have been 2 matches too long.
Okay, so the timing was a little odd to me. I'm glad you brought that up, Dennis. Did you know it was going to be a 4-hour pay-per-view?
I did not know that. And I was sitting in a bar watching it, and they're closing up and they're not pushing us out. It was great because you're with friends. I was at a sushi sports bar here in Michigan that plays wrestling. And
I got to get out to this place, by the way, when I get back out on the road. This sounds amazing.
It is the bartender there, Pudge, was like, hey, you're a wrestling fan. I'm thinking about getting a pay-per-view. We can't advertise it because here I am on the podcast talking about it. But he's like,
oh my God, you're throwing Pudge under the bus here, Dennis. Come on.
But they didn't do it to sell tickets, so it wasn't illegal. He's like, if you want to come in and watch it, you can. And I made it through most of it. Then I had to run home because it's like 10:30 at night, and then buy the pay-per-view with my own money to finish the last few matches.
Dude,
I know, right?
I had no idea though it was going to be 4 hours. I'm not complaining. It was amazing, but I had my kid, was watching with my kids, and at like 8 o'clock, I'm like, holy shit, there's only been 6 matches. I know there's 9 matches on the card. I was expecting maximum 3 hour pay-per-view like normal. But I really dug the format. I think you nailed it when they're making the flagship. I think the Revolution, and maybe the pay-per-views coming after this, they gave each match a significant amount of time. It wasn't like a normal pay-per-view where you give a few of the matches the 20 minutes of actual ring time. Every match had like 15 to 20 minutes of actual ring time. And that's, I mean, you could attest to this, Dennis. That's
Right.
That's something that doesn't happen that often. You usually got a couple fillers in there that they give, 3 to 5 minutes, even in a pay-per-view.
The pre-show was good. I enjoyed that. But back to that Tornado tag team match, I had perfect placement on the card because when that thing hit, I was invested. It wasn't like towards the end where it was the triple threat match that was at the end and you're just like, all right, there are great spots. This would have been fantastic if it was the first, second, or third match on the card. But at the end of the night, you're just like, let's get this over with. I want to watch and I hate it because I'm a Matt Hardy guy. And now here I am going, oh, come on, guys. Oh, great. Sting just jumped. Normally I'd be like, the 63-year-old guy just jumped from on the bunch of tables. Now I'm like, come. I gotta get up in the morning, guys.
You're harsh, Dennis. What is your all right? Let's get into what I did my number 3. What is your number 3 from last night?
Boy, my number 3. I'm gonna go with Bryan Danielson going up against Jon Moxley. And the match was a great match, phenomenal storytelling, but it was what happened at the end with William Regal coming out, making them shake hands. You go, are they a tag team? Is Regal going to be their manager? What's going on next? Like, I didn't going in. That was one of those matches where you go, you can't really tell who's going to win that match. Either way, right. Whoever won that match, it was going to be a great match. It was great how one of them bled and the other one didn't. I kind of chuckled at that.
How did you feel about that finish, though?
I was okay with it because it was a little questionable. Always sets up, did he win? Did he not? I'd have been okay. I would have been more happy if it was more of a defined pin where you didn't go, his shoulders are kind of up and then his leg was on the rope. Shouldn't you break the count or did you start? There were questions for me at the end of it. But once again, I hate to say it, but it's almost like that match was like an NBA game where it doesn't matter what happens in the first, second, or third quarter. It's like that last 2 minutes where all of a sudden they're running back and forth and hitting threes and now you're invested, or like the last 4 laps of a NASCAR race. That's how that match for me felt, where I was just like, okay, at the end, and it happened, and then they keep brawling. And you're like, well, how's this segment going to end? And then out comes William Regal, and it's like,
right,
great.
I love it. I love that everyone. So I have a question about that too. I liked William Regal when he was Lord Steven Regal in WCW before, and then he went to WWE. And my favorite thing that he ever did in his career, this is getting off topic a little bit, but I just wanted to mention. Do you remember when he was the Real Man's Man?
Yes.
That was amazing with the hard hat and everything, and especially coming from his UK background and just coming off the heels of being, the debutante kind of guy and rubbing his nose at everybody. And, and then he's the Real Man's Man. And I loved that turn. It was that promo. If anyone hasn't seen those promos of the Real Man's Man, just hit YouTube on those. Those are fucking money.
That was up there because, I was a WCW guy. And I'll be honest about this because at that time I was living in Georgia and I liked the NWA. I liked it when it transitioned to WCW. And for most of the Attitude Era, I missed the whole thing. Like I tune in to see The Rock in Austin here and there, but a lot of those storylines, I had to go back through and catch up when YouTube became popular because I didn't watch much of that live because a lot of people, we didn't have DVRs back then. You had to pick one or the other. And by the time WWE replayed, I had to go to bed and for school and stuff like that, or, work. So I missed a lot of that Attitude Era because we were forced to pick one or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand. I went back and forth. I would watch and when a commercial break would hit, I'd go to the other one, and whichever one was keeping my attention that night, I kind of stuck to a little bit more. And I caught a lot of the Attitude Era. I kind of during that time, I definitely NWO hit, and that was fire. I mean, that was just straight up like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's kind of hokey when Hogan turns and has the shoe polish on his face, but it eventually became the coolest fucking thing I'd seen. And then, WWF was at the time forced to up their ante, and Stone Cold became Stone Cold. The Rock became The Rock. D-Generation X was the answer to the NWO. So I was really invested in that too.
All right. So, and by the way, this is what makes the three great, because you start with talking about a match and you go off to some memories and then you come back to finish it up. So that's why we decided to just do top three of the week. Does that match even make your top three?
I think the moment of William Regal coming out would have made a top three for me, because I had no idea. I like to pride myself in kind of knowing when certain things are coming, and that one I was out of the blue to me. I did not know that one was coming. And people are probably going to comment below, oh, you didn't know that one was coming. I
didn't know it either. By the way, I'm not.
How good is William Regal's uppercut, by the way, man? That uppercut, dude, he's got to drop that a few times. I just got to see it.
He's like a legit scary dude, by the way. And kind of with you, I don't read the dirt sheets. I like the news when it breaks. I like to be surprised. Why? I never understood wrestling fans that just have to know beforehand, because it's almost like ruining the surprise of, oh my God, William Regal's there. Like, nobody cares. Okay, I'm going to say something that may not be popular, fans. Nobody cares if you're the smartest guy in the room. Just sit back and enjoy it. I don't, if I'm sitting there and the guy goes, I knew he was coming, I'm like, I don't care. Great. I'm genuinely shocked and I love it. So,
and what did that do for them? What did that do for you? It's a question. Oh, you knew that? Good. Cool, man. Can I watch the rest of the match?
It ruined it for you. If you knew he was showing up, it ruined it for you. You do not enjoy wrestling if you have to know what's going to happen before it happens.
Dude, to that point, you brought up Malachi Black earlier. Such a good dude. Came on my show. We recorded before he went to AEW. Happenstance. He didn't tell me he was going to AEW. And happenstance, I released the episode that week, and he said, just take a couple things out and clip it out for later in the week. It'll make more sense on Thursday to drop it. And I said, okay. I waited. I listened to him. He's a good friend, and I don't know if you know this about me, Dennis, but on my show, I'm not a get you journalist kind of vibe. I just want to have real honest conversations with people and let them determine how people look at them. They need to control their own narrative, which is another one from EC3. But I like that. So Malachi said that we released it. I had the first clip out the next morning of him talking about his departure from the WWE, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, and he just hooked it up, and he's been a really good friend ever since.
Such a, you know what, I am lucky enough to have wrestlers as legit friends. Yeah. And it still blows my mind where I go, once again, why does this guy text me back?
Well, there's good people in the world, Dennis. I know you're jaded these days, but there's good people in the world.
My heart's just broken.
Yeah, it's it's got that black heart.
Yep.
Number two. Let's get back on track, Dennis. Come on, man.
Do you want me to go?
Supposed to be yeah, you go number two. I had to start this thing off. You go number two.
My number two is going to be Swerve Strickland coming out, signing the contract. I always kind of knew him a little bit from NXT when he was like Isaiah Swerve. Was that Isaiah Swerve something? You're
gonna have to educate me on that, because I saw the guy and I know that it was a big deal, but I never watched NXT. I gotta be honest.
I didn't watch a lot of it either, by the way.
Yeah. I just never. There's a lot of wrestling out there, which is a great time to be a wrestling fan. It absolutely is. There's a lot of wrestling. There's a lot of good wrestling happening on any given night. I got to be honest though, man. I got a 5-year-old kid, a wife, a band, a podcast. I'm not watching 12 hours. 2 podcasts now. That's right. 2 podcasts. 3. We did an Avenged one that's coming out. So nice. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, man. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. There's so much going on with all these different things, and Tony Khan buying ROH. Like that's, I was like, I don't know why you would buy them at this point, but go for it, man. Like he's having a good time. I'm like, I don't know what the angle is there, but I'm getting a little off topic again here. It's just a great time to be a wrestling fan. I didn't know about this Swerve guy, but he seems legit. He had a good promo right away.
I was a fan of his on the indies. Then, you know, he goes to NXT. You lose touch when they go to the big time, and becomes a free agent, shows up here. And I always knew he was a good wrestler, had a good promo. But when he walked out, he dropped that promo. He felt like a star. Like if that was the first time seeing him taking off the glasses, whose house did you not? And perfect question for you, a guy who you know, Strickland kind of missed your radar. When he dropped that promo, walked away, did you go, that's a star?
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree. It's funny you say that, Dennis. That was exactly my vibe. I was like, I don't know who that is, but he's awesome. Like, to your point, whose house? He's just chilling with his hands in his pockets. I asked the guy next to me, who's a little bit closer to the pulse on the NXT stuff, and he's oh no, that guy's legit. This is a huge move. And I'm like, oh cool, I can't wait to see him in the ring then real soon.
And it'll make you, when you get time, you'll go on YouTube, you'll look up his stuff, you'll educate yourself. And that still happens to me. As much as I love wrestling, I'll turn it on and be like, who's that guy? You go down YouTube, and like an hour later, like, I like that guy. And I think Strickland will be that guy for you, where if you go through and you watch a lot of his indie stuff, you'll go, yeah, that guy will be wearing gold very soon in AEW. And for me, that was my number 2 moment, because nowadays, very rarely do you see a guy come out, deliver a simple promo like that, and just change the whole mood of an arena. And he did that. And for me, no matter how great some of those matches were, that was my number 2 of that pay-per-view.
Well, I'm going to copy your homework here a little bit, Dennis, and go with my number 2 is also not a match itself. Although I love the match that followed, because not just because I'm a homer for him, because he's a very good friend of mine, Darby Allen. I honestly think over the last 2 years, he has established himself as the best. He could put over his opponent better than anyone I've seen in the last long fucking time. The way he goes limp when he takes those shots, like he just gets fucking ragdolled everywhere. And it reminds me of a new age HBK Ric Flair, where when they were taking the bumps, they did it in such a cool way for the time. And I think Darby's taking those bumps in a very different way. And I'm going all the way around with that compliment to come back and say, I love those promos he does and creates at his house every fucking pay-per-view. And this one was awesome. Coffin drop. And that was his father, who I'd met, actually, that he coffin drops in the video off the truck. Sting coming out with the fucking flamethrower. I was like, I knew that Darby had that flamethrower, but I'd never seen Sting use it. And I just love those promos. There's such a cool thing, and it's always a precursor to the match. And I just think that's very unique. You know, you and I grew up in the WCW, WWF era where they had the promos, but they weren't leading up to matches like that. They had those promos on Saturday Superstars, you know, on, you know, and they were great. Takers were amazing. Taker and Paul Bearer, always those promos on Saturday mornings were paramount to me. I love those more than the matches, because then, you know, they had like the Brooklyn Brawler and shit just getting his ass kicked. But you know, like now it's a new era. It's a new cool thing, and he's such a true filmmaking artist. Darby is. He went to school for this, and I think the way that he shoots those are so cool.
It's throwback. It really is. And even that, you're right, lost art. You don't see that anymore. I would like to see more creativity. There's another guy on the indies that does a different version of that, Joe Hendry, who was in Impact for a short time, then COVID hit and went back over to England, he creates a song and intro for mocking his opponent before every match. I'll have to send you some links of his. He is.
Well, it's kind of like what's the tag team? The
Acclaim.
The Acclaimed.
Yes.
I almost said critically acclaimed because that's a song by Avenged Sevenfold. No, The Acclaimed. Yes, that's correct.
Yes, it's kind of like that exactly, except way off tune and probably less cool, but it's some great stuff. I'll send you a link, and that's what I like about wrestling. You start talking like, no, let me send you a link, watch this, and then you watch it, you go, once again, that guy's kind of cool. So that's your number 2, the Darby intro, huh?
Yeah, the Darby intro is, I mean, I was popping pretty hard when I watched it. I was like, because each one he does a little differently. It's a little cool, and this one, it just hit different with that SUV flying through the sky into the broken bus. And I haven't asked him yet, but I got to imagine he was the one driving that. He's that kind of fucking animal. Like, I don't think that was faking the funk at all. I could be wrong, but like, he does all those stunts, man. He's gnarly. Like, he's a stunt man, and he's a really fucking good wrestler too. Like, he's really worked on his chops, and I my hat's off to him, man. I know he's already done great things, and he's got so much more in the can, man. It's gonna be fucking awesome to watch this guy's career.
The one where he jumped out of the helicopter,
That was nuts.
Could you do that? Could you jump out of a helicopter?
Fuck no. No, Darby's hitting me up. He's gonna be doing some reality show, and he wants to film a bunch of stuff at his house. He's like, "Come fly out to the house. Would you do some stuff?" And I'm like, "Wait, you want me to jump out of helicopters and do a bunch of crazy like jackass shit?" And he's like, "So yeah, man." I'm like, I am terrified of heights. You can't pay me enough to go out there and do that. I love you, buddy. I'll do a lot of things for you. That's not one of them.
I'll sit on the ground, drink a few beers, and clap when you get done.
Yeah. I'm good at that. The middle part of that. Drinking a few beers.
Exactly. So that now we come to our number 1s, which is tough because I've been going back and forth on my number 1, even now on this show, because there were so many great moments. I realistically wanted to put the Swerve promo as number 1 for me because of just how it changed the atmosphere and how he sold everybody on being a big star. But God, man, on the spot right now, my number 1, and I think that might be your number 1 too, and we can geek out together over this, is MJF CM Punk.
Yeah,
that match right there. I kind of wish MJF went over. It would have solidified him as a bona fide mega star in that company. I think he can take a loss and come back and be all right. But that match, dude, I tell you what, I don't know about you. I'm not a big hardcore wrestling fan. I can appreciate and I watch it. But when they dump the tacks all over the mat, I cringe. I've been in a room at Impact Wrestling. I was backstage after the Kenny Omega Sami Callihan match where they had tacks. Okay. And I watched Sami Callihan pulling tacks out of his body, out of his boots, out of his pads, and they are real. Some of them are, put down. I get it, are gimmicked, as the guys would say, but a lot of those tacks, man, they're sticking in skin. And I cringe every time I see them throw tacks out. I cringe. I just, I don't know about you, but the tacks.
I don't cringe, but I understand. Like, I always go, they're fucking going for it. They're going for it. They know that this is a big match. This is a big moment for both those guys in the ring. And like I said, I don't cringe. I just go, well, they're here to entertain us, man. And they know, like, that's what they're doing. Like, they want to put on a show. And I just see it as excitement and passion. And I love seeing that in professional wrestlers. Like, they're willing to put it out there for you. And I think that's it's one of the beautiful things about wrestling.
Now, is that your number 1?
It's tough, man. It's tough.
We can share number 1s if you need to. I'm okay with that. I mean, we make the rules.
I think as I'm looking at it, I think I kind of have to go with it. I wanted to give a little bit of love to the Jericho Kingston match for opening up the show. Mm-hmm. And the back and forth on the chops in the middle of that match was like such an awesome throwback. And they, like, it's similar to you with the tax. It's like they went for it, man. I knew those two professionals were gonna they were gonna go. They were gonna throw. And that's why they opened up the show. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they set the tone. So I wanted to give it to him, but more I think about it, I gotta go MJF Punk.
That whole match, the storytelling, the Wardlow thing. I mean, we all knew that was coming at some point.
Oh yeah, they've been setting that up. They've been setting that up for months now.
Yeah, but that simple pad of, I think I lost the ring.
Yeah,
and then Punk and him lock eyes, and you're waiting to see, and he's like, I got it right here. I mean, that was great.
Yeah, no, I love Wardlow. I was happy to see him getting a spot. I think he's going to be really, really great on his own too. And it was a good moment. I think for me, Punk bleeding like that, like just a pig out there, was just fucking awesome to see. I loved what they were doing with the dog collar match. There was a few things that they were doing that I hadn't seen. I don't know if maybe they're more common to you, but a couple of things are just wrapping it. Punk wraps the chain around his knee, goes for it. I hadn't seen that one before. The hand, wrapping around the hand and breaking MJF's hand with it. They did some cool stuff, which is what I was hoping for. I was like, don't go out there and do a dog collar match with all those same fucking moves I've seen from a dog collar match. Do some different shit. And although there was a couple of them that they went for that it could have been a little tighter, I'll be honest. There was a couple of moves in there that I was like, but you got to give them slack. They're wrestling with a fucking dog collar on, you know? So, but you know, I think the match was great. To your point, the storytelling, we talked on the phone just leading up to this match 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, the MJF promo leading into this, where he actually shed tears. I was like, dude, that is, I don't know. You correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see that very often. I know that all these guys are phenomenal professional wrestlers, and let's be honest, when you're cutting a promo, you're acting. You're an actor. You're a thespian and a professional wrestler. I don't see a lot of them who can shed a tear, you know, and he was able to. It was a very touchy subject for them to go into.
On that same phone call, you and I both were like, if this turns out to be a swerve, and oh my God, the backlash he could get, and he was above it. Like there was no back. I was so happy. I was so happy that's the way it went. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, the way 2020 and 2022, wherever the fuck year we are in, and they're like the internet and the buzz and everyone's got a voice, and you just don't know how people are going to react to that, because obviously you knew it was kind of I'm sure there was some parts of it that were true, but you know, it was obviously an angle, and it was a tough angle. That's a fine line to walk these days. And I'm so happy not only am I happy it worked out the way it did, I'm more happy that MJF and whoever was involved in that angle and the company for having the fucking balls to go for it. Because I feel like that's a little bit of what it has been missing in wrestling to me. There's not a lot of pushing the envelope in the last while. Like there's no one, you know, the Attitude Era, the WCW era we talked about close to the beginning of this show. They were pushing envelopes, man. They were seeing what they could get away with on TV. And so much of that has been lost. I understand why. The business side of it, you know, you have sponsors, you have kids, you have shareholders that you have to answer to. I totally understand that aspect of it and respect the reasons why wrestling has gone that way. And I think for some reasons it's very good that they did that. But me as a fan watching and wanting to see what I want to see selfishly, I want to see them push that fucking envelope and do some shit that makes you go, oh, fuck. Did they really just go there? And that's what I miss. I want to see some more of that shit. Doesn't need to be everything. It's a buffet. Wrestling needs to still be a buffet. You got to have everything out there. But like, man, I want them to push the fucking envelope sometimes. MJF's the guy to do it. And that promo, if we would have done this podcast a week early, that would have been both of our number ones. That promo right there. I mean, And by the way, guys, we have a Twitter handle, so go follow it. It's _3_pod. If you know of a dog collar match that we might have missed that you think we should watch, tweet us the link. Well, I'll make sure Johnny gets it and we'll watch it. And maybe we'll even review it. Who knows?
Yeah. We got a Twitter?
Yeah, just that though. I haven't done anything else, honestly.
All right, man.
There's no Instagram yet.
Nah, we don't need all that shit. Just the Twitter. Just the Twitter. Just a Fightful, man. Fightful. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah. Listen, DMs are open. Shoot us a DM. Throw us a link. Follow us. Tell your friends about the podcast. Listen, this has been a fun first episode. We've stumbled our way through it. I don't think it was horrible.
I mean, no, it wasn't horrible. I mean, I think you could have done better, Dennis.
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, next time maybe up your background a little bit, put on a collar or something, clean yourself up a little bit.
I'm going to shave. I will wear a suit and tie next show, and I promise I will bring my A game.
All right, man, you better, because I'm tired of carrying you. Like, if this is how it's going to be, well, I mean,
I love it. All right, listen, where can people find you? Your 19 podcasts, your band, your everything.
Man, pretty easy to find. Just type it into the computer machine, I guess, and say fucking Johnny Christ, Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah. Drinks with Johnny everywhere. Drinks with Johnny is really easy to find everywhere. Avenged Sevenfold is really easy to find everywhere. I only have one personal social media, and that's Johnny Christ Official on Instagram. I don't even know what I'm doing with it anymore. I don't know what social media is anymore. I like Twitter, but the other stuff I'm kind of getting over. I don't know.
So I'm the same way. Twitter just seems easier to engage and disengage, and you don't really have to worry about anything.
I don't have to put up a bunch of pictures too. I like the pictures on Instagram, especially of the ladies. I get it, but I
just don't like them on me.
But if you're already following us on Instagram, I love you so much. Thank you so much. I'm gonna make sure post so much more for you there.
Well played. Hey, that was a very good recovery, by the way. You can find me
my first time.
You can find me at Undisputed DPF on Twitter. That's really all I really do, wrestling perspective. Once again, I'm going to take a page out of Johnny's promo book and be like, just type it in the computer. You'll find it if you want to. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So it's the three. Fightful. The episode's over. Go home now. We're going to end it, and we'll see you next week, hopefully, if Johnny doesn't back out yet, which he might.
That might have been the only episode we do.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.